Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of the Arsenal News Show, joining you every morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much, guys, as always, for joining me, for making this a part of your morning routines and tuning in. So do drop a like on the video and subscribe for more content surrounding our beloved club as we continue to follow them, just unknowingly, unwaveringly, and sometimes stupidly into the darkness of a title challenge. Arsenal, of course, still have a few days until their next game and have been recovering and spending some time chilling out. I think it's going to be a very chilled week as far as I'm aware, and what I've been told. The players were recovering yesterday. And of course, we're given a day off on Sunday to kind of just relax, refresh, and use this week because we've not had a break. And when we do kick off this game against Leicester on Saturday, it begins a period of time of 23 days in which Arsenal will play 7 matches. So you're averaging a game nearly 3 and a third, around that. Every 3 1/3 days, we're going to have a game. It's going to be hectic. The channel's going to be busy. You guys are going to be busy watching, commenting, reacting, and tuning in, and of course, engaging with the content here. So without further ado, let's say good morning to our fantastic guests, who I call our chat box. Penny Wing, good morning to you. Matt G, Blackshine, Martin, Rich, Morgie, Marcus, Carl, Johnny, Amira, Temi, Dave, Lovemore. Lovemore just started already. I'm trying. I'm doing my best, mate. Franklin, Stephen. We've got Mr. SNLO. We've got Josh. We've got Martin, Harrison, DJ D10, and plenty more of you guys as well. Really looking forward to hopefully hearing from some of your thoughts in part 2. And when we do that, we'll obviously be going through your comments and your questions. So if you've got those, save them, hold on to them, keep them safe, tuck them away, and then bring them out for part 2. For part 1, we're going to go through our stories. First of all, Jorginho has been talking about his decision to join Arsenal. He says he wanted to progress. I want to progress in my career, and the Arsenal project suits me. It's a young team that plays good football and fits my characteristics. It's one of the reasons, surely, when being asked about whether Arteta was behind his move, he called me, and it was all very quick. We made the deal in less than 48 hours. I'd spoken to Chelsea, and I knew I was no longer part of their plans. And thank you, Chelsea, because Jorginho has been brilliant for us so far. Best player for Arsenal in our last 2 games, of course, with that massive moment against Aston Villa. I was watching back this morning. If you haven't yet watched Bench Cam, you definitely should go and watch it. It's absolutely going worth doing. It's brilliant, and I suggest that you are tuning into a lot of the content that Arsenal produce around the games because it's great. I've also seen that videos have now surfaced of the press box incident. Yes, people are tagging me saying they can see me in the video. I'm at the front on that left-hand side. And I did mean what I said, but I don't see it because I was focusing on the goal and writing all that stuff up. And I don't think you see me turn around in that video clip that's going around at the moment because I'm just focused on it. As I said, I heard a lot of commotion and I kind of turned around after I'd done my stuff and they were still kind of going back and forth, a lot of stuff being said in Spanish, but there's plenty of articles out there where you can read some of the information as to what happened. Patrick Vieira has said that the title is Arsenal's to lose. He's really putting pressure on Arsenal. Of course, Arsenal will play against Crystal Palace in their next Premier League fixture. I think it's their 5th game in this. It's the last one, I think, before the break, for the international break. So that pressure is sure to increase. The mind games continuing from Arsenal's former captain as he meets another Arsenal former captain when they play Arteta and Arsenal at the end of March. Hopefully, Gabriel Jesus will be back for that game. We can only keep our fingers crossed that will be the case. Nuno Tavares has also said to be deciding his future in the summer. We await more details on this, but there is a hope that with the likes of Nuno Tavares, having scored now his 6th goal, he scored the 3rd goal in their last game against Toulouse. It was a 3-2 winner for Marseille. They're really in a chase this season for the top of the table. They're really trying to push PSG as much as they can. And Tavares, of course, who was out injured for a little bit, he got the goal and again has added to that great tally that he's continuing to build up this season. And I can't wait to see what happens with him in the summer because I think obviously he's worth significantly more than he was when we let him go on loan. But there is also that fact of, does he get into the team? Does he fit into what Arteta wants to do? I'm not so sure. I'm not sure he can play. But what I do think is obviously we're going to be able to make a profit on what we paid for him as well, which is ultimately what you want to achieve. Now, Kieran Tierney is also said to be deciding his future in the summer. Fabrizio Romano has been talking about Tierney's future. He said Tierney will decide his future at the end of the season. Also, Nuno Tavares on loan is another factor to consider. Arsenal want him to be 100% focused on the second part of the season, and they're not in talks with any clubs now. We talked yesterday about the fact that Newcastle United are said to have an interest in Tierney, and that there was suggestions that they were rating him around the £30 million mark, which seems incredibly low. But if Arsenal do indeed decide to sell Tierney in the summer, hopefully we can get a significant fee and a significant profit on what we paid for him back in 2019. Now, Arsenal's final position that they want to try, and I say final position because it's just not an area that we've strengthened since 2021 when we signed Tomiyasu and Ben White, of course. But 2 years after that, Arsenal want to try and sign a new right back. Edu is said to be looking at potential targets. Ivan Fresneda continues to be one of those positions that are one of those players, in that position that they are considering attempting to sign in the summer. He has not diminished interest in the young Spaniard that was also attracting serious interest from Newcastle and from Borussia Dortmund. He might get a move elsewhere in the summer. Other teams might prove to be interested in the player, but we'll continue to follow him and maintain a kind of eyeful watch of Fresneda as he continues the rest of the season with Real Valladolid. But right back appears to be an area that Arsenal want to look to strengthen in and try to bring in a different option so that Arteta has more variables to choose from should he move for a player or should he want to change the type of player that he's got in that position. Because at the moment, we've seen Ben White and Tomiyasu obviously interchanging and swapping, but it's not necessarily always worked out. And we saw that against Brentford, we saw that against Everton, and we saw that against Man City, where Tomiyasu came on for White or vice versa, and it didn't necessarily work. Against Aston Villa, I thought White was fantastic. I thought Tomiyasu came on and did a good job, but I still think we lack kind of a different style of right-sided fullback. And that makes sense as to why we're also interested in Fresneda. Now, our headline story is that Arsenal, although seem to be unwilling to break their transfer record for Declan Rice, they are said to be leading the race for him, and that the contract situation is said to be something that will allow Arsenal to sign Declan Rice for a much lower figure. According to Footy Insider, they claim that a 70 to 80 million pound price tag is what it will take to get Declan Rice in the summer, which of course might be slightly over their record. But if they can get him for around that 70 million price tag, Arsenal would abide by what they want to do, which is not break their transfer record. The wages around the player are said to be in demands of around £200,000 per week, which, to be honest, make a fair amount of sense, considering he'd probably get that from West Ham, if not more, if they were to offer him a new deal. Other clubs like Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, who also would be in the race to potentially sign Declan Rice, would surely be offering wages of around £200,000+ per week. And it's going to be a continued saga, it seems, this one. We'll obviously bring you all the updates and continually bring you all the latest on Declan Rice, but he continues to be Arsenal's priority target for the summer and the player that they are looking to sign as a statement this year. That completes all of our stories, but I do have to tell you about a brand new and exciting prize, courtesy of Football Prizes. It's quite an exciting one that's got lots of stuff going on. In essence, it is a signed Bukayo Saka shirt that's been framed. But not only has it been framed, but within that frame, there is a little tiny TV screen that plays you all the highlights of his career so far. I love the ingenuity behind this prize that Football Prizes have put together. A link to get involved with it is in today's video description. And even just by buying a ticket to potentially win this, and of course there is an early bird price for the moment, so if you want to get a slight discount on a ticket, now is the time to definitely try and buy that. There are other prizes as well that you can sign just by entering the competition. If you get the right number, you can win a signed and framed Thomas Partey shirt. You can get a signed and framed Tomiyasu football boot. You can get a signed David Seaman Arsenal mount as well, and plenty of Football Prizes site credit as well. So you can win just by entering the competition immediately. So if you do want to get involved with that competition, please do get involved, because it is a great prize, certainly worth winning. And I think it's great kind of uniqueness about this one, that if you're not involved with it, please make sure you do. Okay, let's go to part 2 and your questions right after this. Okay, let's see what we've got going on in the chat box. I saw a brand new member join us. Bjorn again, 76. Thank you so much, Bjorn, for joining up as a brand new member, and welcome to the TGT family. I can already see plenty of you guys welcoming Bjorn into our fantastic crew of listeners and family, and I really appreciate that. So thank you, Bjorn, for helping support the channel, and welcome to the crew. Let's jump into the chat box then and take some of your questions for part 2. Mira says, Jesus is left side bias, which helps the left wing when Zinni inverts. If we keep Kieran Tierney, should we be looking for an inverted fullback like Fresneda for when Eddie plays, who's more right-sided bias for that type of balance? It's interesting, isn't it? Because I see exactly what you're saying. If you've got Fresneda suits having like a Tierney or a Tomiyasu, I think more so as our left back. I think Tomiyasu makes the more sense if you've got Fresneda there. And then when you've got Zinni, you've got White and Tomiyasu on the right-hand side that can operate to keep the back four in the style that Mikel Arteta wants from his team. Whether or not we see that happen is another thing. Whether or not Tierney remains at the club, remember, whether or not Eddie remains at the club in this summer remains to be seen. We'll have to see what happens with both of those two. Their futures aren't guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination. But Gabriel Jesus returning, I think, is obviously going to help Zinni. It's going to help Xhaka. I think Xhaka's really kind of fallen away a bit, and I think his partnership with Jesus was excellent in the spaces in the final thirds. I think that's not been something that's been talked about all that much, is how much Xhaka has missed Jesus and his movement and his the opportunity to try and find Jesus as well. They've assisted one another this season already, and I think they've missed out on one another. So, yeah, I think there's an argument that Nketiah might benefit more from having Fresneda and that style of right back than currently Jesus does. But I don't think we should be reliant upon who the fullback is to get a performance out of our striker. You know, you need to be able to rely on them to do that individually, not just collaboratively. Let's go to Matt, who says, do you think the amount of Arsenal are racking up in FA fines is going to impact our summer transfer budget? At this rate, we'll only be able to afford to bring in Jan and Vieira on loan. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it, how many fines and charges Arsenal are getting. There is said to be an investigation by the FA into the incident in the press box. I weren't involved. That's just all I'm saying. Don't come for me, the FA, please. I weren't involved. I was minding my business, getting on my work. Don't charge me. I can't afford it like Arsenal. I'd really appreciate it if you didn't do that. Let's go to Gavin, who says, Tom, what advice do you have for a fan who really wants to see Pep cry? Keep your fingers crossed. It's the only advice I have for you. Let's hope that he cries if Man City miss out on the title. So Nicholas says, when people say we need to protect Saka, what exactly do they mean? The talk is around the referees, but what can be done really? The refs are going to ref, or do they mean our players need to protect him? They're talking about punishments for players that are, of course, over fouling him. And we need to see kind of stricter things around the fouls that are going on around the player. Sam Dean has done a brilliant article for The Telegraph all about this. I'll try and link this into the chat box. But yes, here we go. So let me just link this into the chat box so you guys at your leisure can give that a read. But for The Telegraph, did a piece saying, this season, Saka has drawn one booking for every 10 fouls made on him, but he has received one yellow for every 4.8 fouls that he commits. It's not a conspiracy, but it is weird, and the numbers are startling when compared to other forwards. What's going on? And of course, you can read the rest of Sam's piece on The Telegraph with that link, or you go to his Twitter, or just go to The Telegraph to find the article. But that is mad. Saka getting one booking for every 10 fouls on him, and yet he's receiving a yellow card every 4.8 fouls he commits. He's receiving a yellow card at more than twice the rate of those that are fouling him. It's not fair. And that's what we talk about protection. We need to see that number of fouls committed before a yellow card is given brought down. That said, I was listening to Arsenal Vision yesterday, and I think that Tim Stillman made a really good point around the whole. Oh, it might have been Paul, actually. I think Paul made the good point around this is soft football in essence. Like football back in the day, as we always say, was a lot more physical. Tackles weren't flying in, no yellow cards. What we witness these days is the soft version of football. And yet we're still calling for greater strictness when it comes to challenges. I think there's certain things that need to be done to protect players. Like if you can tell that a player's being targeted, like Bernardo Silva took 4 bad fouls on Saka before was booked. It should have been a minimum 2, actually rather a maximum 2. At a minimum, the first one could have been a yellow. So I don't really get that. I think players take the opportunity to foul early in the games and kind of kick players early in the games. They know the referee's not really going to book them. And I think that needs to be greater. So I hope that answers your question. We have a super chat from Kieran who says, do you think Arteta playing with Jorginho and Partey at the same time together? Do I see that happening? No, I don't. I don't see that happening. I think it's a potential to do it. I think you can move Partey maybe into Xhaka's position. Some people have suggested they'd rather see Jorginho play in Xhaka's position. I wouldn't personally. I think I'd rather see Jorginho sit and the more mobile player play the 8 role. But because we're kind of talking about what we have to do to fit both of them in, I don't think we're going to see it. I think you're more likely to see Partey and Jorginho interchange, swap. One will come on maybe later in the game to add some more stability. And I think it's more likely that Vieira would exchange or Smith Rowe would exchange with Xhaka over Jorginho or Partey. Steve says, if we could sign Vlahovic or Osimhen in the summer, who would suit us best? Osimhen. I think he's a fantastic striker. Vlahovic, I just don't think. I think he's kind of one of those strikers that, like Haaland is with City, is bottlenecking them a bit. Everything kind of flows through them. I think you need something different. I think Osimhen is more collaborative than Vlahovic. Jason says, do you think that Martinelli showed a lack of respect when scoring his goal against Villa? No. And anyone that does, just grow up. Lynn says, Tom, would you keep Balogun or sell in the summer? I'd keep him. I think 3 strikers is fine. It would depend on what kind of offers came in, I suppose. If you start getting a ridiculous offer from someone, I'm not sure how hard it would be to turn that down or to accept it. It would depend on that. But I'd like to see him kept and like to see him given an opportunity just to see what he can do. Matty Gunner says, Gabby Jesus will be hungry when he gets back. Expect him to hype the team up when he returns. Absolutely. I can't wait to see him back. And I think he's going to be a big boost to what we want to achieve this season. Rich says, Tom, do you think Vieira would be the best centre midfielder in the Premier League if he was still playing? Who's most like him? Maybe Casemiro. The thing is, there's a lot of misconceptions, I think, about Vieira's positioning. Like Casemiro is out and out a DM that plays at the deepest part of the midfield. When we had Vieira, Gilberto Silva was the guy playing the deepest part of the midfield when we were playing in that Invincibles era. And Vieira's position was playing ahead of that deep midfielder in the team. So I don't think Casemiro is the appropriate comparison. I don't think you can make that comparison. I don't think you can make any kind of comparison with Vieira. He was such a brilliant footballer in his own right that comparing him to any modern day alternative just doesn't really work. People always said that we needed to replace Vieira, but in essence, we never replaced Gilberto Silva. We never ever got in that DM until we signed Partey. So there is a lot of misconceptions, I think, and feel around Vieira's best position in the team. Sam, you can't help everyone, I'm afraid, in other channels, chat boxes. Wes says, DR, I'm underwhelmed the game passes him by when WH aren't in possession. And he's easily bypassed. Oh, Declan Rice. Sorry, here we go. So I was thinking, who on earth is DR? But yes, Declan Rice. I'm underwhelmed in the game passing by when West Ham aren't in possession. And he's so easily bypassed. He looks very one-paced. And he doesn't seem to be what's happening around him. What are your thoughts? I think it's very difficult to look at a West Ham team that are playing awfully and pick up Declan Rice on his own and make a full judgment around his character, around his performance, around who he is as a player, and come to a determining conclusion about him. Because I think you pick him up and you put him into this Arsenal team, and I think he would be brilliant. And it's difficult to make those judgments when he's playing in this specific West Ham United team. Can he be bypassed? Yes. Has Partey been bypassed? Yes. DMs can be bypassed. It's not like you have to expect that they're never, ever going to not do that. And if you're another team and you're preparing to face West Ham, you will recognise that their biggest defensive threat, their biggest defensive asset in their team is Declan Rice. And so teams will enact ways to try and work around him. Now, you put Declan Rice into Arsenal, and you've not got to just worry about Declan Rice. You've got to worry about Partey, or you've got to worry about Xhaka. You've got to worry about Zinchenko or Gabriel, Saliba. Why? You've got to worry about the whole rest of that team. Whereas in West Ham, yes, they have some decent players outside of Rice, but teams will be looking at Rice as the standout player that they need to try and remove from the game, even when they're attacking or even sometimes when they're defending, because Rice does progress the ball well. So I think it's always going to be difficult, Wes, to look at things like that and say it's not going to work for Arsenal because he just gets bypassed when playing for West Ham. I just think in a different context, a different scenario, things would be very, very different indeed. I hope that makes sense. Let's go to a few more questions this morning. Mark says, if we're talking about Serie A forwards, what about Kavica Kvaratskhelia? Yeah, again, I think he'd be mad expensive, but if you can get hold of him, amazing. But I just can't see us doing that, to be honest. I just can't see us having the ability to sign him. Ali says, do you think the additions of Rice, fingers crossed, would only allow us to fill both Ødegaard and Vieira? The Declan Rice position holds the midfield on his own for West Ham, and I think that we really need Vieira's quality in our 11. I think that Vieira will eventually develop into a player that you might see playing a lot more over Xhaka, and that they see him as potentially that Bernardo Silva-esque style midfielder that when he was in his prime at Man City, you saw him playing to the left of De Bruyne. So I think that, yes, there is an argument that we might see that. But you can argue that we might see Emil Smith-Rowe playing that left 8 position. I like the idea of playing Ødegaard right centre midfield, Smith-Rowe left centre midfield, because I think it gives you the inversion that you don't have in other areas. You find that the Ødegaard left-footed pass can be played out to Saka much easier. You can find the Smith-Rowe right-footed pass can be played to Martinelli much easier. I like that inversion of passing, especially when you play with 2 inverted wingers as well. And Ødegaard's, just his vision is unrivaled, and Smith-Rowe needs to gain that. And he's more direct as well than Ødegaard. And, if he was in that chance in the box and Ødegaard missed that opportunity, you can be sure that Smith-Rowe would have probably buried that. They come with their own strengths and drawbacks, but I think that Vieira and Smith-Rowe have got a great opportunity to play in that left 8. And if Declan Rice is the guy to pay behind them, it's a great option in the long term moving forwards for me. I'd love to see it. Let's go to Big White Clock, who says, Tom, those foul statistics have been the case for more or less since Wenger. The rest of English football hates us and screws us over at every opportunity. The press, the refs, the pundits. Look, the foul statistics are what they are. If we highlight them more and we talk about them more, and that is the media that are highlighting that for you. Sam covering Arsenal for The Telegraph is doing it from a journalistic standpoint, not from a supporter standpoint, because he doesn't support Arsenal. But when it comes down to looking at those types of roles, I think that articles like what Sam's produced are great and certainly provide more context and more education around that. So, yeah, that's the way I look at it. And that's the way I perceive it to be. Vala says, what's your favourite chant? It continues to be the William Saliba chant. Continues to be that. So I think that it's just great. I like the Arteta chant as well, but Saliba's chant I don't think can be beaten. Although I tell you what, after the game on Saturday, it was hard not to just love Jorginho's name being sung over and over and over again. Which is another song that I like, actually. Tono says, hi, Tom. Have not caught the live show in a while. How's it been with your job at Football London? Really like your recent work. Thanks, mate. It's going really well. It's going great. Enjoying going to the games and speaking to the players, speaking to the managers when you get the opportunity. I don't take it for granted, ever, at all. And I think that I'm in a very, very blessed and fortunate position. And as I always point out, would not be here if it wasn't for you guys listening and tuning in and helping to lift my profile up as much as you have done. And I hope that I do you guys as proud as I can. I feel as though I'm really trying to represent the viewpoints of a lot of people when I talk or whenever I put questions across. I'm trying to ask questions that I think people want to know the answer to. I know I can be better, and I can always be better and improve. But I'm really enjoying it. It's going really, really well. And one of the articles the other day, if you saw on my Twitter, got recognised for the November-December awards at our company, which was great. It was a piece around Arteta's 3 years at the club. And that was a great honour to be recognised in that sense as well. So clearly I'm doing something right, which is good. And I'm really enjoying it. Thanks for the question. I really appreciate it. Musa says, I'm on holiday in Cyprus. It's 10:30. Why are you live? Oh, yeah. I need a coffee. It's weird when people talk about it. I mean, I'm going to be going to Chicago in April, and there's going to be a lot more information about a show that we're going to be doing out there very soon. So as soon as I have all the details, don't worry, I'll tell you. But I'm kind of going back and forth about what I do with the 8 a.m. show when I'm going to be out there for about 6 days or so, or 7 days really, because what I could do is I could do a live show at 8 a.m. in the States. So I could just do it from that, but that would obviously be lunchtime here in the UK. It would be what? They're 6 hours behind, I think. So it'd be 2 p.m. Or I pre-record a load of shows like I did when I went on my honeymoon and then release them at 8 a.m. every single day. That's what I could do as well. So it might be that I could do both. Who knows? Maybe we do both. But don't worry, there will be daily content. I'm looking forward to going. I can't wait. It's going to be great. And I look forward to seeing plenty of people and listeners who are over there in the States that want to come along to our show. And as I say, as soon as I have details on what's going to be happening, there's going to be a big event as well that we're being part of. And we'd be very, very grateful to be invited to. That I'm going to tell you all about when I have all the details of that and who else is going to be appearing as well, because it's not just me. There's going to be some great guests, so I'm looking forward to it. Let's go to scroll up a little bit. Carl says, I watched you on the Arsenal Lounge last night. Proud with the way that you come across. Also proud to be part of this group. Much more enjoyable than the chat box. Look, whenever I say, and I go onto other people's channels, be it the Lounge, be it Harry's, be it Judges, be it whoever's, they run their channels in their own way. I run mine in the way I run mine. And look, some people, like me, I'm pretty trigger happy with the block button. Other people aren't as trigger happy with the block button. And that's up to them. That's how they run things. I think that from my perspective, I think being a bit trigger happy with the block button has actually created a very enjoyable, collaborative, friendly, respectable environment. And if I jump into another chat box, often what happens is I see people or I see accounts that aren't welcome here anymore because they've abused people, they've abused players, they've abused me, they've abused other people's opinions, they've started throwing out words they think are fine that simply aren't. And look, they're going to be there, and obviously that gives them a dislike towards me, which is fine. I expect that. It's not a surprise. You can't you can't please everybody at all, and it's never going to be able to be that way. But I think that what we've done is that we've created a great community here, a welcoming place. And I hope that a place where if you put your opinion into the chat box, and if it's a respectful opinion and you've explained your points and all of that, and you've given us something rather than this guy's trash, this guy's crap, this guy's this guy's that you're going to get the time of day and that I'm going to respond to it. I've admitted plenty of times that I've been wrong about stuff. And it's all about different types of opinions. I've also had people that have messaged me and said, Tom, you blocked me on the channel. I recognized that what I said was over the top and I shouldn't have said it. And I'm sorry. Can you unblock me? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely no problem. Appreciate the message. So, it's as simple as that. It's simple as that. Always for second chances. That's the way forwards in life. Second chances. Don't cancel people. If you are able, to give those second chances, go and do it. So if you listen to this and you can't comment because you said something silly in the past and it got you blocked, send me a message, explain what you did, and I'll be more than happy to unblock you. So there you go. I think I've got more people blocked on Twitter than I've got people following at this point. It's mad. Absolutely mad. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening, tuning in, talking, being part of this great channel. I really appreciate it. Do drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed the show. Do subscribe to the channel as well. I'll be live on the Arsenal Way at 10. Bringing you more content on Football.London throughout the day. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. And as always, up the Arsenal.